Hello Year 7s. In this video, we're going to talk about solving equations. Now, before we launch into it, we're first going to talk about flowcharts. Now, what is a flowchart? Well, flowcharts act as training wheels. We're not going to use them forever. We're just going to use them in the beginning to help us along. It's a bit like when you ride a bike, you have training wheels just to start with, but when you become comfortable with riding a bike, you then take them off. And it's the same thing here. We're just going to flowcharts are just going to help us when solving equations, but we just use them in the beginning. We don't always use them. All right, let's first talk about what flowcharts are and what's their purpose. Well, here you can see that I have k and 3. And what this means is that k is equal to 3. So over here, k is equal to 3. And then here we have times by 2. So I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to times it by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And I'm also going to do the same thing to the k up here. K times 2 is 2k. Now, if we want to think about it, what we're doing here is we're simply timesing both sides of our equation by 2. And we've seen this before. 2 times k is 2k, and 3 times 2 is 6. So 2k is equal to 6, 2k is equal to 6. Then we keep on going. We're next going to plus 3 to the 6, which is going to give us 9, because 6 plus 3 is 9. And we're going to plus 3 to the 2k. So it's going to be 2k plus 3. And again, we can do the same thing here. So I'm going to plus 3 to both sides. I'm going to plus 3 to both sides. So that means I'm going to end up with 2k plus 3 is equal to 6 plus 3 is 9. All right, and here it's telling me that 2k plus 3 is equal to 9. And here, this is telling me 2k plus 3 is equal to 9. So you can see that this and this are really the same thing, just different ways of representing them. This is the real way to do it. This is the real way to do it. This way is just the training wheels way. But then you're probably asking yourself, what's the point of this? Why are we doing this? Why are we writing out a flowchart in this way? It's kind of seems pointless in the beginning. But the reason why we do it is because it helps us to understand that we can go forwards and backwards. What do I mean by that? Let's say I started with this square over here, and I wanted to go back to this one. So I wanted to go from here to here. Well, if to go this way, I plussed 3. If I want to go backwards, I would do the opposite of plussing 3. What's the opposite of plussing 3? It's subtracting by 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. And then if I wanted to go backwards again, so I wanted to go from this box to this box, so I'm going backwards again, I would do the opposite again. So what's the opposite of timesing by 2? The opposite of timesing by 2 is dividing by 2. And sure enough, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And that's the point of flowcharts, to show you that we can go forwards and backwards. That's the point of them. By doing the opposite operation, we can go forwards and backwards. Now, we introduced an important thing there, and that is opposite operations. Another word for it is inverse operations. Inverse. Inverse just being another word for opposite. So inverse is just another word for opposite. So let's go through them and just label them. What's the inverse operation of addition? It's subtraction. What's the inverse operation of subtraction? It's addition. For multiplication, the inverse is division. And for division, the inverse is multiplication. That's always a bit of a mouthful for me to say, but that is what it is. That is the inverse operation, the opposite. All right, let's now get into the meat of this topic, the real thing. So here we go. Here is a question that you're going to face. In tests and in exercises, these are the way that they're going to present themselves. It says, solve for f. And then we've got this equation here. F minus 5 is equal to 15. And we want to solve for f. In other words, what is this f? So when it's saying solve for f, what it wants us to say is, what is f equal to? That is what this means. When it says solve for f, it's saying, what is f equal to? And you can probably do this without doing any maths really at all. Just in your head, you could think, well, what minus 5 is going to be 15? It's obviously going to be 20, right? 20 minus 5 is going to be 15. And you'd be right. But what we want to do is we want to show a mathematical way of doing this. We want to show an algebraic, like a formal way of doing it. Because when the questions get harder, we won't be able to do it in our head. To help us out, let's look at our flowchart. So we don't know what f is. We don't know what f is. It's a mystery. But we do know that we're going f minus 5. F minus 5 is this, f minus 5, and we know that's equal to 15. Therefore, if I want to go backwards, well, let's try that again. If I want to go backwards and I want to figure out what f is, I'm going to do the opposite operation. So instead of minusing 5, I'm going to add 5. And 15 plus 5 is 20. And just like that, we get our answer. Now, as I said before, this is just the training wheels way to do it. It's just the training wheels. In a test, or even in your exercises, you're not going to draw flowcharts to answer these questions. You're not going to do this. That would be crazy. This way over here, so what I'm about to do, this is the real way to do it. So this is the working out that I expect to see. It's the same as over here, but it's just the way that we present it. So when you're given a question like this, and you can see that f minus 5 is equal to 15, what you're thinking is, well, how can I get rid of this minus 5? Because I just want f on this side. So I need to get rid of this minus 5. Well, to do that, I need to plus 5 to this side. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So I'm going to plus 5 to this side as well. And by doing that, I'm going to get 20. 15 plus 5 is 20. And that is how we do it. You have to make sure that whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Otherwise, it becomes unbalanced. So whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. And there's your answer. F is equal to 20. Let me highlight that. All right, let's now move on to the next one. It says solve for a. 2a is equal to 6. And we need to figure out what a is. So what we need to figure out is, what is a equal to? Well, again, we can come to our flow chart and we can say, well, I don't know what a is, but I know that I'm timesing it by 2, right? I'm going a times 2, and that's giving me 2a, and I know that 2a is equal to 6. And if I want to go backwards, here, I'm going to divide by 2, because that's the opposite operation to multiplying by 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. Again, this is just the training wheels way to do it. You would not answer a real question using a flow chart. That would be madness. You'd be there all day. The real way is this way. This is the real way of doing it. What you do is you say, well, this is multiplying. So I want to do the inverse operation. I want to do the opposite. So I'm going to divide by 2. And remember, whatever you do to one side, you must always do to the other side. Otherwise, it becomes unbalanced. So if you do something to one side, you must do it to the other side of the equation. By doing the opposite operation, I'm now getting rid of this 2 here. And we can visualize this. Let's visualize this for a second. I've got 2a, and I'm dividing it by 2. And then over here, I've got 6 divided by 2. So on my left-hand side here, this 2 is cancelling with this 2, which means I'm left with a over here. I've just got a by itself, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. And I've got my answer. That is what we're doing, people. That is what we're doing. All right, the last one here. It says solve for m. Solve for m. So again, when it says solve for m, what that means is we want to figure out what is m equal to. Let's use our flowchart to give us a hand. It says m is over 4. If it's over 4, that means I'm dividing by 4. So m over 4 is equal to 7. If I therefore want to go backwards, I'm going to do the opposite operation. I'm going to times it by 4. 7 times 4 is 28. So that means I'm going to come over here now, and I'm going to times this side by 4, because that's going to undo the division here. And remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So here, I'm going to be left with m, and on this side, 7 times 4 is 28. And that is going to be my answer. And that is the introduction to this. That is how you do it. That is what you have to get comfortable with. In the next video, I'll quickly go through some examples with you so you can watch that and you can follow along with me. I'll see you in that next part real soon. Bye-bye.